Good morning, Oklahoma. Welcome to Cow-Calf Corner. This week's topic, we're going to discuss fence line weaning of beef calves. What do we mean by fence line weaning? Basically, it's a process where we wean calves, where we're just putting the cows across the fence line from the calves themselves. We always say when we wean, we know we're going to create stress on cows and calves. It's the calves in particular that we're trying to eliminate as much of this stress as possible. And there's two primary things when we go through the weaning process that we're weaning calves off of. One is the companionship and the social interaction with their dam, and the other is milk that comes from their dam, or what has been their primary source of nutrition up to that point in life. So traditionally in the beef cattle business, when we thought about weaning, we're going to catch the cows and calves, we're going to load up those calves, we're going to take them somewhere else off site, maybe put them in a dry lot or a different pasture and totally separate them from their mothers. Now, what we've seen in several studies over the years is that we can reduce that stress on calves if we actually use fence line weaning, a process we typically say lasts 4 to 10 days, where we take the calves when possible and just leave them in the same pasture, and we take their mothers and just put them across the fence line. What does this accomplish for us? It permits the nose-to-nose contact, or that companionship or social interaction between calf and its dam, that eliminates that part of stress while those calves are acclimating to a new diet. So at this point, we typically, when we wean calves, we've got a functional rumen. So they're ready to start eating grass, hay, or potentially some sort of creep feed. We find that in most cases, when we want a fence line wean, a 5-strand barbed wire fence is satisfactory to create that barrier that we need and still permit that nose-to-nose contact. Depending on how our wire is spaced or the condition of our fence, sometimes we may need to go in and run a single strand of hot wire on one or maybe both sides of that fence to prevent nursing through the fence itself. But the whole process, if we can accomplish it in about 4 to 10 days, we see less stress on the calves. We see calves that actually spend less time walking perimeter fences. They tend to spend more time resting, eating, and drinking. If we can leave them in that same pasture that they've been raised in, they're already going to be familiar with where feed, water, and grazing areas are. So that helps to eliminate a little bit of stress on them as well. If we need to, we find that putting water troughs or feed bunks or hay feeders right in that fence line, where they're going to kind of interact and mingle with their mothers, so that as they walk back and forth on that fence line, they're inevitably going to find sources of nutrition, is going to help them. And the calves that we fence line wean tend to gain more weight the first couple weeks post weaning. They tend to maintain that advantage in weight gain all the way through as we look at them several weeks out. So this time of year, or any time of year, regardless of when we calve and take a look at weaning, if fence line weaning is an option to you, it's something to consider relative to eliminating stress and potentially having healthier calves that are gaining weight quicker post weaning. Thanks for joining us this week on Sunup.